Шановні делегати, просимо уваги. Зараз приступаємо до дальшої праці. Прошу займати місця. Я тепер попрошу пана Степана Кубіва, першого віце-прем'єр-міністра України і міністра економічного розвитку, представити нашу дорогу гостю, міністра Христину Фріланд.
Ще раз всім доброго дня, слава Україні, слава Канаді. Це несподіванка була для мене, дійсно, що я маю таку велику честь представити нашу гостю, але це господиня, це жінка, яка сьогодні величність і символ української нації, українства в Канаді і України всієї держави Україна. Я попрошу підтримати аплодисментами. Але враховуючи, що сьогодні ми маємо дуже велику знакову подію. І сьогодні знакова подія чисто символічно відображає єдність і 125-річчя, і єдність 75-річчя, і єдність відновлення 25-ї річниці незалежності України і нації, яка в світі нараховує 65 мільйонів. А 20 – це вдячність тим, які зберегли не тільки ідентичність, а звели і зберегли символіку. Разом з тим я хочу звернутися офіційно до високоповажної пані міністр. Один з далекоглядних політиків колись сказав, що торгівля об'єднує людство у загальне братство взаємної залежності та інтересів. Я мрію про той час, а він сьогодні настав, коли Канада і Україна стали частиною такого братства. А воно вже є, офіційно оформлене завдяки міністерці пані Христині, завдяки прем'єр-міністрові Канади, президенту України, прем'єр-міністру України. Досить буде, щоб показати експорту і імпорту товарів між нашими країнами якомога швидше сягнули рівня сучасних потреб, і вони далі самі продовжать це між Канадою і Україною. Розцінюється це всіма як жест партнерської допомоги Україні у важкий для неї час політичного, економічного, соціального випробування. Я вірю, що реалізація наших відносин, які прикладає пані міністерка Христина Фріланд, говорить те, що між нашими обома країнами є велике майбутнє. Велике майбутнє, яке буде відображатися на канадському ринку, і канадський споживач буде стимулювати підвищення кваліфікації українського виробника, якість і ціна продукції з України не матимуть конкурентів. Ми разом з пані Христиною, завдяки прем'єр-міністру Канади, президенту України, прем'єр-міністру Канади, наблизили дуже потрібний момент, коли добре ім'я українського продуцента стане найдорожчим товаром, засвідченим Канадою. З такою авторитетною перепусткою для України відчинилися всі двері міжнародної торгівлі. А якщо на ній є ще ваш підпис, пані міністерка, письменниця, журналістка, то про ліпше паблісіті нам не потрібно і мріяти. Це Христина Фріланд. Я маю сьогодні ще другу велику честь сказати, що до 25-ї річниці України ми від імені української делегації, від посла, особисто від прем'єр-міністра, президента, хочемо вам, пані Христино, і прем'єр-міністру України подарувати фотолітопис. Фотолітопис, який відображає Україну, де написано «Ще не вмерла Україна, ні слава, ні воля», а з другої сторони це книга «Україна. Шлях нескорений». Ця книжка властива тим, що працювали більше 8 місяців, більше 100 людей, які відображали ідентичність і отримували найцінніше – це гідність і в цілому український дух, який зберіг. Ця книжка ще унікальна тим, що тут є 1000 світлин за 27 років від створення народного руху до останньої події, яку ви зробили у Києві разом з прем'єр-міністром Трюдо, де була підписана угода. І я показував вам цей фотолітопис. І третє, що найцінніше в цій книжці, це перша книжка, яка вийшла в Україні, яка має музику. Надію, що мене не підведе це. Мене запитували знавці, як вона батарейки міняє. Ви знаєте, це найновіше. Тут є те, що заряджає сонце, тобто життя. Я хочу цю книжку вручити міністерці пані Христині і прем'єр-міністру. Попрошу передати теж книжку даного фотоліписця, а це є український народ, українська історія. Дякую вам. Пані Христино, у вас... Це важка, але це цього не краще. Дякую. Дякую.
Дуже-дуже щиро дякую, пане Степане. Я майже плакала, коли ви всі ці чудові слова казали. І дуже-дуже вам дякую за вашу присутність. Це надзвичайно важливо для мене і для нашої цілої громади, що ви приїхали, що пан Вадим Пристайко приїхав, що пан В'ячеслав Кириленко приїхав. Очевидно, наш вже улюблений посол, він вже стає, я думаю, українцем з Канади. Він так живе в нашій громаді. Але справді присутність такої великої делегації від України має дуже-дуже велике значення для мене особисто і для нашої громади. Ви вже нас досить добре знаєте, і я думаю, що ви розумієте, що наше життя як українці в Канаді є дуже важливе, але також наші стосунки з Україною і з вами дуже-дуже важливі. І факт, що ви наділяєте стільки вашого часу в ці непрості моменти для України до нас і до нашої громади, справді має велике значення. Щиро вам дякую. And I'd also like to thank my friends and colleagues, Ivan Baker and Boris Vzhesnievsky. They have traveled like me from distant Toronto to be here. And are my great friends and colleagues in working for Canada and also for Ukrainian Canadians. And in that work, we're working very closely with another dear friend who's also traveled from Toronto, Pavlo Grod. Pavlo, дуже дякую. And I really did want to start by saying something very important, which is the Prime Minister asked me to personally say to everyone here how much he had wanted to be here himself. He had planned to be here. I know because we talked about when the plane would arrive and when the plane would leave. All the details were sorted out. But unfortunately, the very sad death of actually a good friend both of Canada and of Ukraine, Shimon Peres, meant that the Prime Minister couldn't be with us. But I do want everyone to know that he really wanted to be here, and he asked me to say to everyone he's with us in spirit. Pan Prestaiko and I were speaking about the Prime Minister not being able to make it, and we decided it would be a good idea if at the funeral of Shimon Peres, the Prime Minister and President Poroshenko could meet, and it turns out they have already. I think, see, there you go. So even as we are speaking, they are talking. C'est un grand honneur et un très grand plaisir pour moi d'être avec vous cet aujourd'hui. C'est vraiment un jour historique pour le Canada, pour l'Ukraine et pour ma communauté des Ukrainiennes canadiennes. Cette année marque le 125e anniversaire de l'arrivée des premières immigrantes ukrainiennes au Canada. Le rôle que cette communauté, ma communauté, a joué dans la construction de notre pays ne peut pas être surestimé. Le sait qu'un bel avenir nous attend. Aujourd'hui, 1,3 million de Canadiens d'origine ukrainienne considèrent le Canada comme leur pays. Plus de 2100 étudiants ukrainiens fréquentent notre collège et nos universités partout au pays. It is such a pleasure for me to be here with you, my Hromada. And I'm especially glad to be here with you that we are celebrating this important anniversary here in Regina on the prairies. I myself I was born in Peace River, Alberta, and raised in Peace River in Edmonton. And I have to say, when my plane came down and I saw those big skies, I felt very, very much at home. We're here celebrating the 105th and 25th anniversary of the immigration of Ukrainians to Canada. And we've been coming ever since. I looked up the numbers, and I can tell you that 2,400 Ukrainians became permanent residents of Canada just last year. So Ukrainians started coming 125 years ago, and we never stopped. But I wanted to start by really remembering and honoring the memory and the work of those first Ukrainians who came here 125 years ago. And they came here to the prairies. I was born in Peace River, and I grew up on a farm there. My dad, who is not Ukrainian, is driving his combine right now. I think he's hoping to finish his barley today and move on to his canola. And I know how hard it is to be a farmer on the prairies. It's hot and you work hard in the summer and you freeze to death in the winter. Imagine what it was like 125 years ago for those first Ukrainians who came here. They really built this country. They arrived to the untilled prairie, they arrived in the bush, and they built the prosperous country that surrounds us. These are our ancestors, and I am really proud that we are able to come here today and honor them. Vічна їм пам'ять. Ukrainians built this country, and especially here in the prairies, we all know that. I remember when I first left the prairies and there were some people who hadn't heard of Ukrainians. It was so weird to me because everyone around me was Ukrainian when I was growing up. So we built this country, we built Canada, but we also transformed Canada. And as I was thinking of coming here today, I remembered that it was at a meeting of Cook 45 years ago in Winnipeg, 1971, that the previous Prime Minister Trudeau, Pierre Elliott Trudeau, launched the policy of official multiculturalism. And I know that very many people in this room worked hard to create that policy, worked hard to make that policy a federal policy, and have worked hard ever since to implement that policy. Наша громада справді може гордитися тим, що ця політика, яка є корінна для нашої країни, для Канади, є також політика нашої громади. And I have to tell you, that work we have done to create multicultural Canada, to create a Canada which is strong not despite its diversity, but because of its diversity, is one of our country's greatest strengths today. I am here today as a Ukrainian Canadian and representing the Prime Minister, but my day job is to be the Minister of International Trade. So I travel a lot. And one of the things I hear over and over again, wherever I go, is that people today really see Canada as a magical place, an island of sanity, really, in a world that is going a little bit crazy, a place where we are open to the world, where we know how to get along, where we know that immigrants are nation builders. And I am so proud as a Ukrainian Canadian of the role our community has played in that essential foundational pillar of what it means to be Canadian. That policy of multiculturalism I have experienced in my lifetime, I know many people here have too, has really changed what it means to be Ukrainian Canadian. People here, I was introduced by Pan Stepan as Chrystia or Christina, but if you looked at my passport when I checked in on WestJet this morning, I'm Chrystia Freeland. Like so many people, my friend Pavlo, I have a Ukrainian name and I have my English name. And that's how it was when I was a child. What is so interesting to me is that today I have 3 children. They are called Natalka, Halina, and Ivan. And those are their names in Ukrainian. Those are also their names in English. Those are their names. And it's really wonderful for me seeing how, you know, as we would say in Ukrainian, вони зовсім без комплексів про то. То для них абсолютно нормально. My son Ivan will very clearly, very politely, but very firmly, if people try to call him Ivan, he says he's only 7, but he'll say, no, my name is Ivan. And he waits until the person carefully, correctly pronounces it. Ivana, do you do the same? That's what multiculturalism means. It means that we can be fully, proudly, bez kompleksiv Ukrainian while being fully and proudly Canadian. And yeah. And you know, Canada has been a fantastic country for Ukrainians. Everyone I have ever known in my life who came here as an immigrant, including my Baba and Guido, was so grateful to Canada. My Guido would not allow criticism of the government of Canada in his house because he said he would say to his children and grandchildren, you guys have no idea what other governments can be like. But, you know, it wasn't always the way it is today. For Ukrainians and for other immigrants. We have the shameful history of internment. My own mother would tell stories about how hard it was starting to go to school and not speaking English. So we have made this country a diverse society. We've made it a country which is so proud of its multiculturalism. And I'm proud of Canada for what it's accomplished. And I'm very, very proud of our Hromada for the hard work that we've done to make Canada the great place that it is, both plowing the beautiful fields we see outside us and in the policies that have made Canada so unique and so strong. Andriy Shevchenko, the Ukrainian ambassador to Canada, who I've known for many years. I actually knew him when I was a journalist in Ukraine, and he was a journalist in Ukraine too. He said to me at the Bloor West Village Ukrainian Festival a couple of weeks ago, знаєш, Христю, я дивлюся на українців в Канаді, і я думаю, ми маємо шанс в Україні. Тому що ви такі самі, як ми, і дивіться, що ви тут збудували, і що ви зробили. And I thought, and I think that really is true. But what I want to say to our friends and our relatives from Ukraine is, even as we have been building a life here in Canada and a country, we haven't forgotten Ukraine. I'm sure everyone here knows the song «Можна вибрати друга і подруга брата, лиш не можна сину матір вибирати». That's what I was always taught. That's what our community always believed. And we've always remembered, що наша перша матір, наша перша батьківщина – це Україна. Our community has worked very hard to support and be nourished by Ukraine. And today, we're also recognizing and celebrating something remarkable, which is, this is the 25th anniversary of an independent Ukraine. Astonishing. There are a lot of young people here today, and that is great. And I am so happy that independent Ukraine has been around for long enough that for you, it's ancient history that Ukraine didn't actually exist. That's how my children feel about it. But I'm old enough to remember a time when it seemed impossible that Ukraine would actually be independent. And I think it's important on this day, which is really a time to celebrate and acknowledge accomplishments, to really step back and acknowledge how remarkable it is that after all of the terrible history of the 20th century for Ukraine, we really can say, «Ще не вмерла Україна». It's really true. But Ukraine is surviving, and I believe even flourishing today in the face of brutal assault. I read yesterday, and I thought it would be worth quoting at a little bit of length, the editorial in yesterday's New York Times. It was titled, Vladimir Putin's Outlaw State. And here's just how it began. President Vladimir Putin is fast turning Russia into an outlaw state. As one of 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council, his country shares a special responsibility to uphold international law. Yet his behavior in Ukraine and Syria violates not only the rules intended to promote peace instead of conflict, but also common human decency. I could not have said it better myself. And that is not coming from me as a Ukrainian Canadian. That's in the New York Times. It is really outrageous what Russia is doing to Ukraine. And that's why it was so important just a few months ago for the Prime Minister, together with some people in this room, to travel within the first 8 months of being sworn in to Ukraine, to say there to the people of Ukraine, to President Poroshenko, to our Ukrainian guests who were here today, who were there then, to visit the Canadian soldiers who are in Yavoriv, who are training Ukrainian soldiers, and to say that Canada stands with Ukraine. We stand with Ukraine, opposed to the Russian invasion of Crimea and the continuing Russian aggression in the Donbass. We're with Ukraine today, and we'll be with Ukraine tomorrow. And I say this to our Ukrainian allies, we will be there with you for as long as it takes. And that's why I was very proud of our government's decision to take command of the NATO forces in Latvia, one of the 4 NATO countries stepping up to that level of responsibility. We do understand the threat as Canadians. We understand the particular role Ukraine is playing in standing firm. And as a Ukrainian Canadian, I think all of us as Ukrainian Canadians feel a special connection to and responsibility for Ukraine. But as a Minister of the Crown of Canada, I'd like to say that we also deeply appreciate the security role that Ukraine is playing in the world. Ukrainian soldiers are on the front line in the fight for freedom and democracy. Щиро вам дякую. I am incredibly proud of the bravery and the commitment that Ukraine has shown over the past 3 years. It's really, really remarkable, actually. Ukraine has stood up to Vladimir Putin and actually held the line. At the end of the day, though, as important as the sacrifice of those Ukrainian soldiers on the front line, those young men and women, is, I believe that ultimately Ukraine's battle is going to be won on the home front. And I believe that Ukraine will ultimately prevail when the Ukrainian people can show that a free people, a people willing to fight for their independence, are also a prosperous people. Ultimately, Ukraine's economic success that Ukrainians can show themselves, can demonstrate to the world, can even demonstrate to their Russian neighbors, is going to be what makes this fight won in the long term, what makes Ukrainian independence sustainable in the long term. And that's why, as Pan Stepan said, it was so important for me, for the Prime Minister, for our government, when we traveled to Ukraine this summer, to show our solidarity with the Ukrainian armed forces, but also to show our support for the Ukrainian economy. And that's why I was so delighted, and I have to tell you, just for me as a person, it was a tremendous honor, величезна честь в моєму житті, to sign the Canada-Ukraine Free Trade Agreement. Yeah! Canada was the second country in the world to do that with this post-war Ukraine. The first was the EU, whose economic agreement with Ukraine was ultimately the precipitating event of the conflict that followed. And I am proud to tell everyone here, if you didn't know it already, that 10 days ago, on September 19th, the first day of the new session in Parliament, we presented the bill that will lead to the ratification into law of the Canada-Ukraine Free Trade Agreement to Parliament. We did not wait a moment. And together with Boris, I very much look forward to standing up in Parliament and voting to ratify that agreement and pass it into law. For 125 years, we Ukrainian Canadians, our babe and our gide, have been building prosperity here in Canada. And I think we've done a pretty good job. Now, finally, our brothers and sisters in Ukraine, for the first time in that long, long period while we have been here, have a chance to be free, to be independent, and to build that same prosperity. This is a historic day for Ukrainians in Canada. It's a historic day for our friendship with Ukrainians in Ukraine. I think it's a tremendous honor and opportunity for all of us to be able to work together. Дякую вам. Слава Україні! Слава Україні! Слава Україні!
I'll just thank you. I'll thank you very briefly. Okay? Minister Freeland, I would like to thank you for taking time from your incredibly busy schedule to be with us today. For those of you who don't know, Minister Freeland began her journalistic career in Ukraine as a stringer for a number of prominent publications like the Financial Times, the Washington Post, and The Economist. When she returned to Ukraine recently to sign the Canada-Ukraine Free Trade Agreement, she was welcomed back as a native daughter. Це наша Христя. Але Христю, ми є надзвичайно горді, що ти перша наша Христя, українка, канадка, і ми гордимося тобою. Дякую.